All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Facebook Live from Alzheimer's Orange County. My name is Melissa Clave. I'm the Director of Education here at Alzheimer's OC, and I'm joined this morning, as I am many mornings, by Kim Bailey, one of our programs and education specialists. Hi, Kim.
Hi, good morning, Melissa. Good morning,
Good morning.
everyone.
So today, as you can see, we're going to be talking about a very timely topic, which is how we can make our holidays coming up so hopefully we can provide you with some practical tips and strategies that you can implement in the coming weeks. But first, I want to thank our sponsor for this morning, which is Irvine Clinical Research. They are a local clinical research organization. They also provide community education, memory screenings. So if you're interested in learning more about them, please visit irvineclinical.com. And again, we are so thankful for their ongoing support. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about the holidays, how to make them dementia friendly. We know that the holidays can be such a lovely time of getting together, sharing a meal, sharing time together, but they can also be stressful, even in the best of times, right? But when you add dementia in the mix, when you add a pandemic in the mix, it becomes even more challenging. And so we're going to talk today just about some simple ways to frame the holidays, hopefully ways to make us feel a little less guilt around the holidays, and ways to make them just as positive and as joyful as possible so that we make memories that we can look back on with our loved ones. So, Kim,
Yes.
why don't you start us off?
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to be here. We have Thanksgiving coming up this week, so the things we'll talk about today certainly pertain to Thanksgiving as well as the upcoming holidays in December. And I think we'll just talk about some guiding principles. First and foremost, keeping it simple and safe, how we can plan ahead for some activities that bring pleasure and that are stress-free, and then how you as caregivers can practice self-care. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on each of these, starting with keeping it simple. So let's start there.
All right.
And of course, of most importance, we want to observe the guidelines. And most of you already know that our governor has issued more recent guidelines. He's asking for all of us to stay home as much as possible. There's been a recent curfew that was imposed between the hours of 10 p.m. and I think it's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.
Yeah.
That's not a problem for most of us. Most of us aren't out between those hours anyway. But more importantly, he's asking us to avoid gathering with multiple households. And, you know, the more households that come together, the higher the risk. And so for many of us, that is disheartening because we may want to get together with adult children and relatives, friends, etc. So keeping in mind that each of us has different circles of people that we mix with. And so the more people who come together under one roof, the higher the risk, particularly for our loved ones with dementia who are at a higher risk for COVID. So avoid those gatherings. And of course, when we're together, we do want to wear face masks when not eating and drinking, practice social distancing, and wash our hands frequently. So those are that's a standard protocol. And I know all of us are sort of getting fatigued by observing these protocols. And I also know that it's difficult to explain the why and the how of all of this to our loved ones who are confused. But these are simple guidelines that are so important during the time of COVID. And then what we want to do heading into the holidays is keep our home environments clutter-free. And so when it comes to decorating, we want to use simple holiday decorations, you know, sort of watch out for things like loose electric cords or flashing lights, trip hazards, and try as much as possible to maintain our usual structured days and our routines as much as possible. So, you know, just sort of try to keep a calm environment in the house and keep things simple. and not over decorate and overdo the holidays. Kind of downplay all of the, I think a lot of us are kind of invested in rituals from holidays past. And I'm not saying don't decorate, but just sort of keep it simple. I'm kind of remembering, and I think I've shared this example in the past, but when I was a caregiver for 6 years, I put up a couple of different trees with the lights, the colored lights, and those trees were reflecting in the sliding glass doors. And no, I'm sorry, let me back up a minute. I put up one tree and it was reflecting in the sliding glass doors, and my client thought that she was seeing multiple trees, and that was confusing to her. And so remember that people with dementia often have delusions and have trouble with reflections and blinking lights. And so, sort of downplaying those things is good. Less is best.
Yeah.
Keep the bustle or commotion level low, because when the commotion level rises, so does the agitation level and the likelihood of increased confusion. And then you can plan easy meals as opposed to sort of the ritualistic big meals of the past. And I want to share a couple tips around this, even just for Thanksgiving. I know that Gelson's is doing Thanksgiving dinner to go. And I think all of us are aware that various grocers have these types of meals, but always have. But I noticed when I was shopping at Gelson's the other day, they have a beautiful dinner that they're going to, you can order in advance. It's $50, and they'll bring it out to the curbside, and it's the full Thanksgiving dinner with all the trimmings. And if that's a little rich for your budget, I can highly recommend Trader Joe's has a turkey dinner in a box. It's like an oblong box, and it's perfect size for 2 people, and it's, I think, $12.99. And I just tried it for myself the other night, and it's absolutely delicious. It's a turkey breast that's stuffed with cornbread dressing, and it's rolled into a puff pastry, and it comes with cranberry sauce and gravy, and it's absolutely delicious. And so consider, easy meals like that. And I would advise having those meals at noon or earlier in the day rather than later at night during that sundowning period. Anything you'd like to add, Melissa?
Yeah, that sounds really good. And we're not sponsored by Trader Joe's, but we're open to it. So if anybody,
well,
those
Melissa, I don't cook, so I thought, I was thinking ahead to this this webinar, and I thought, or this Facebook Live, and I thought, I better experiment with this in advance so that I can, feel good about recommending it.
It was better than the personal, experience.
It was delicious. But any other tips? Any other tips you might share?
I just want to mention on the note of keeping the commotion low. I think we don't realize how distractions can be, right? All the things that we can easily tune out. Lots of people, hopefully not lots of people this year, unless lots of people live in your household. Yeah. But TVs, loud music, beeping of kitchen timers, and then us trying to speak loudly over all of that, maybe to the person who's in another room, from the side or from behind them. That can be really agitating, as you mentioned, for someone who's kind of already struggling to process information. And so this can also be one of the easier things for us to change about the environment. If we can just lower the volume a little bit, maybe put on some relaxing music, help calm the person, and just start off on a good note rather than starting with all this hustle and bustle. And it can be kind of fun for us, a full house and lots of things going on. That's kind of like, a traditional holiday, but we need to really try and look at it from that person's point of view if we can, and see how might this be really distracting to someone who's really unable to kind of tune those things out or just see them as background noise. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. And then, as you mentioned, simplifying for sure. But if you are cooking or even just simply preparing something, finding ways for that person to participate in it. You and I, Kim, have talked about this before. We all have this need to be needed, and that doesn't go away with dementia. And you've shared some stories before about kind of missteps, and we all have stories about how we've tried to just kind of take over and do things ourselves because it's simpler that way, and we think we're kind of almost doing the person a favor by just kind of doing things for them. But we all want to feel a part of something, right? And we all want to feel like we're contributing. And especially maybe even more so when, you start to feel like you're losing some abilities. You think, what's my role here? What's my purpose? And so if there's a way you can figure out, can they help me set the table? Can we do something together? Can they help me prep something or stir something? It doesn't have to look like it did in the past if they were a, master chef, but they probably still have those, inclinations from the past of wanting to participate. And so, even taking a little time before the day and thinking about how can I, what are 5 ways, throughout the day this person can help me, or help, be a part of the day. Because when they're engaged meaningfully, we also see that distress go down, which we talk about a lot, right? So think about their interests and their abilities, and brainstorm maybe with your other family members as well. How can we be including this person all day long if that's what they want, if that's what, they want to be involved.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that is a perfect lead into our next
Perfect.
slide, which is how we can sort of plan ahead for easy activities that we can share and enjoy, that will help to reduce stress for our loved one. And I love your idea of just thinking ahead about what are 5 ways that we can include our loved one in the day, in the celebration, things that are low key that can keep that person in that state of contented involvement that we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
We often talk about sharing photos with our loved ones. And so, maybe we can put together a little book of pictures of holidays past. Yeah. Because the truth of the matter is, we're not going to be able to do the holidays this year the way we have in the past. And, that's just the reality of the situation. But, why not gather together some pictures, familiar faces from the past? Maybe we can't do the traditions that we've done in the past, but we can kind of bring them back to life for our loved ones through a little book that they can enjoy while they're sitting and need something to do, just have something in their hands and something they can page through and look at. They can be involved in decorating the house, and they can make some simple holiday decorations. This is kind of a great time to go back to the old-fashioned way of decorating the tree. You can make decorations with construction paper. Remember the old loops, the chains that we used to make? That's a perfect activity for someone. You can cut the strips and they can paste them together and put them together. There are other things other simple decorations that you can do together, and trimming the tree is something that can bring a lot of pleasure and joy. Stringing cranberries, putting up tinsel, all of those things. And those are activities that you can string out for, a couple hours at a time, which is really great. It's a great way to fill some space in your day.
Absolutely.
Zoom calls with family and friends. And I would space these out and parse them out so that you don't have, 20 people on the call at the same time. But rather, maybe 2 or 3 people instead of 20, so that people aren't all talking over each other, because that can really be overwhelming for a person with dementia. I know they're overwhelming for people without dementia sometimes, but that's a great way for your loved one to connect with people, since we can't get together with our relatives the way that we want to during these holidays. And then, as Melissa mentioned, bringing them into the kitchen, baking together, cooking together. They don't necessarily have to be recipes from scratch, and it depends on what stage your loved one is in. If they're further along in the illness, they can just be the Pillsbury cookie dough that you cut and drop onto the sheet. It doesn't matter. I mean, the important thing is you're side by side, and that your house is filled with that wonderful odor of things cooking, and you've got that nice low, holiday music on in the background that Melissa mentioned. just sort of close your eyes for a second and envision that environment. It's just very soothing and lovely for both of you. Wrapping gifts is a great project for people with dementia, depending on where they are in the illness. And, release all of your thoughts of perfection. It doesn't matter, and again, it's all about having that person be involved and feeling needed and being engaged. Watching classic holiday movies together, singing carols together. I'm a big fan of YouTube. Bringing up songs with the lyrics on the screen is really fun to do together, sitting on the couch and eating popcorn and singing or watching movies together is a great activity. And of course, you can put ideas into the chat.
Yeah.
If you want to share with others. And Melissa, if you have any ideas, we'd love to hear them as well.
I have a couple.
Things you've done with
Absolutely. And we have a comment from Megan who says, if you celebrate Christmas, there's a pre-made 50s Christmas list on Spotify. That's wonderful. That's great. Yeah, there's tons of playlists out there. I wanted to mention a couple things on here. One thing about the photo album also makes a great gift. Or you can even make like a photo book that we've done a few times. There's, companies that will just nicely, put all your photos and captions into a book that, that person can enjoy all year round. I think that's something that happens with photo albums that is like kind of like a trap we all fall into is when we're reminiscing, we often say that R word, remember, right? We say, oh, do you remember this? And it can feel a little bit like a quiz. So we want to be careful when we're reminiscing that we find ways to do it in a way that doesn't feel like we're putting that person on the spot to remember, a certain date or person. So, other ways that we can do that is just look at a photo and start telling that story yourself.
Right.
Oh my gosh, this was such a fun year. We had Aunt Sue and Uncle Jack over and I burned the turkey. So they want to, there's no wrong answers. They can kind of they can just sit with you and listen to you reminisce, which might be just lovely for them to do. So try and avoid, if you can, trying to put that person on the spot. And this can happen a lot around the holidays. If we're Zooming with, a relative, oh, don't you remember me? And it's really hard, and we all do it. I think part of us is just curious to see if that person does remember. But just remember that, it can put them in an awkward spot and make them feel like, it's a quiz, and nobody likes quizzes, as our colleague Ben says. So just something to be mindful of. But this can be such a great activity for reminiscing. And same thing with the Zoom calls. I think, normally we'd say if you had family and friends coming over to your house, you might want to have a conversation with them beforehand to prepare them if they haven't seen the person in a while. These are some changes going on, and here are some ways that you can, feel at ease interacting with them. Because not everyone is living your life and learning what you're learning as you go through the changes with this person. And so, you can talk with them about it if you're going to have a Zoom call or a socially distanced outdoor visit, whatever it is. You can also share one of our tip sheets with them, which I'm going to put in the comments right now. These are good for ourselves or for, just to share with, our friends or family before we talk with them over the holidays. And then one more idea I had, that's something I love doing as an activity, is driving around and looking at lights. And I don't think they have them up yet, but Orange County, I'll put a link in the comments. I'm sure there's a number of websites, but there's one in particular that has listings by city of great houses you can drive by. So if that's something that, would be enjoyable for your loved one, you can make some hot chocolate to go and jump in the car and take a little drive and look at some lights around the city. I just went down to Dana Point. They have their holiday lights up all along the beach, and it can get really busy on the weekends. But if you go on a weekday, like early, right when the sun sets, I think you can make it when there's not too many crowds, and it's a lovely walk along the harbor, and they have just the most beautiful light displays. So, think about if that's something that your loved one would enjoy and wouldn't be too overwhelming. There will be some other people there, but wear a mask, and it can be a really nice outdoor adventure if you're looking for some way to kind of get out of the house. So, and one other thing that we've talked about before, but can be even more special now is still making thank you cards or treats for loved ones or essential workers who are still more essential than ever these
Yes.
days. Again, that need to feel needed and to want to do something for others around the holidays, that might be something that your loved one would enjoy as well.
All wonderful ideas, Melissa.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So self-care.
Yeah. So
What's
this
that?
is, yeah, this is a time of high risk for caregivers, who we worry about you pushing yourself too hard. That's why we're having this today, just to remind you that, to slow down and remember that you shouldn't push to do more than you can reasonably manage because you're already doing so much. And sadly, all the extra frills are not likely to really be noticed or appreciated by the person you're caring for. And that's not because they're insensitive to what you're trying to do for them, but the disease has just taken away their ability to really notice these things. And so, I say that not to hurt you, but just to it's just a little reality check there, that the disease, sort of renders them incapable of appreciating some of these extra things that you do for them. So please don't push yourself beyond your limits, and give yourself permission not to be perfect, because as we stress time and time again, not only is it you're doing an impossible job, but you've got this extra layer of COVID that's made caregiving that much more difficult. So do find time for breaks. You need your rest, and both you and your loved one need to be sleeping, getting adequate amounts of sleep at night. That's just imperative. Good night's sleep is imperative for your loved one to keep their functioning level higher. And it's important for you so that you're able to do your job well. So try to carve out some time, a little bit of time every day, even if it's only 15 minutes, just to do something that's important to you, something just for you, whether it be, a little walk around the block, or whether it's meditation or gardening or just having a few minutes sitting out in the sun, whatever it is that it replenishes your spirit and your soul. Time in prayer, whatever it takes, but have that time for yourself. And do remember just to breathe. Dr. G, if you've heard her talks with Melissa before, talks about how important it is just to do some simple deep breathing every day. Take that time to do that. So it's really, all of these things are important all the time, but particularly during the holidays. And, I also want to just say a couple things about grief, because everybody's situation is different, but some of you may be grieving at this time as well during the holidays. The holidays are, even if you take away COVID and if you take away dementia, holidays are not easy for people. Sometimes this is a time when people experience depression and feelings of loss. And so all the more reason to take good care of yourself. And I know that some of you who view this now or at a later date may be caring for someone who's in a care community, and you're feeling very sad because you can't be with your loved one. Or some of you may be grieving the fact that you can't have holidays that you used to have in the past. And so I just want you to know we see you, we feel you, and we're here for you. So don't forget the services of our helpline. If you want to call us, we're here to talk to you about these issues. And do take advantage of the holiday tip sheet and some of the suggestions that we've made, and know that we care deeply for all of you.
Yeah. I mean, we're all experiencing loss of some kind, some the loss of, real loss of a loved one. Others of us just loss of how things used to be. Like you mentioned, just not being able to do things the way that we always have. And so just be easy on yourself. Know that you're not alone, that, we're all experiencing some kind of loss. And that, in a way does kind of bring us together with a shared loss, does bring people together. On the self-care note, I know that, caregivers are some of the most selfless people out there, and they think, I don't have time to give myself. I really have to devote everything I have to my loved one. And you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And you do have to try to find some way to pour into yourself a little bit. And I think a good first step can be, if you can't even fathom having a little bit of time to yourself, just think about what you would do if you had 5 minutes or 15 minutes. That's an exercise we do in one of our Savvy Caregiver series for caregivers. And you can even imagine what you would do with a whole day or a whole weekend. And maybe that's not realistic right now, but just having that idea in mind of what you would do can bring you a little bit closer to kind of figuring out a way maybe to make that a reality, and that you could enjoy that thing. Whether it's just, like you said, reading a book or going outside or taking a walk, just some time to yourself, or just to chat with a friend, whatever it is. Don't neglect yourself too much in all of this, because you're important as well. And your well-being is really important too. So I did put a few things in the chat there. I put that Orange County listing of lights, which should be updated soon. I put our holiday hints tip sheet. Here are some upcoming classes. We have one today on sleep for brain health. This is a really wonderful class. I'm going to put the link in the chat if you would like to sign up for that. We also have another Facebook Live next week on how to maximize the well-being of your loved ones with dementia. And we have a really cool class called Brain Boot Camp that is 2 weeks long. It's 2 sessions, 90 minutes each. And it goes through some brain health. It goes through some memory enhancement tips. It's just a fun way to spend, a couple weeks to really exercise your brain, meet some other people that are interested in doing that too. And it's free, and we would really invite you to sign up and join us if that's something that you're interested in. We'd love to have you. And you can see all of our classes on our website, alzoc.org. But these are just a few that are coming up. I do want to mention one of our community partners, Family Caregiver Resource Center. They provide services and support for family caregivers. They have information, caregiver assessments, care planning, counseling, education, support groups, and respite. And their services are available in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So you can visit caregiveroc.org if you think you may benefit from their services. And as Kim mentioned, our helpline, open for business. Give us a call. Whether you need information or referral, just someone to talk to, someone that gets it. Please give us a call. You may end up leaving a voicemail, but you will get a call back. So just keep that in mind. And we're here on Facebook. We're on our website. Everything's virtual still, but we love connecting with you any way that we can. So please reach out to us. And thanks again, ICR, Irvine Clinical Research, for your sponsorship of today. And thank you, Kim. Any final words you'd like to share?
Just to wish all of you safe and peaceful holidays, and to thank you for the extraordinary job that you're doing as caregivers. And we wish you well.
Absolutely. Caregivers are essential workers, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Doing a fantastic job, and we know that it can be really, really challenging. So we're here for you. Let us know how we can support you. And we hope that you all have a lovely week this week. Hopefully you get some time to relax. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Kim.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.